Welcome to Dover, Delaware. Welcome to the Monster Mile as we know it. We are here for the Coast to Coast Racing Series, their fifth round in the season, and it's going to be a hard fought race here at what we know as the Monster Mile, and there is several reasons for us to call it that way. The Monster Mile is a concrete track, which is very unusual in racing. It has very little grip, and it's got very high banking, so it's a high speed track for the Cup cars, and it brings a lot of drivers in a lot of trouble. We are taking away the last few moments of the practice session. We have 11 drivers that have registered for the race, and let's take a look at your race information here. The Dover International Speedway is located in Delaware. It is 1.02 miles long, so we basically call it a mile. And the current ambient temperature here at the track is 78 degrees Fahrenheit, which makes for a nice summer day. The relative humidity is 56%. It's partly cloudy, and there is no wind to speak of. The track temperature is 103 degrees Fahrenheit, which is already a little bit down from when we started practice. That makes for a pretty hot track, and on concrete, that means that grip is going to be hard to find for these guys tonight. So we're going to be seeing some people in trouble here and there. We've already watched some of the guys in practice, and sometimes they just wash up a little bit more than they expected to. The groove that they're laying down, the rubber on the track is going to be on the low side in the turns, so the higher side in the turns is going to be pretty risky for them. We're going to be doing 165 laps tonight, and the grid will be determined by the reverse order of the championship standings. So let's bring these championship standings up for you. Sorry about that. I'm getting ahead of myself. It currently in the lead of the standings is J.D. Woodward with 115 points. Sean Ritalik is 7 points behind him. Ken MacArthur 18 points behind the leader. Lane Bullock in fourth. Kevin Woods in fifth. Michael Edwards in sixth. Seventh is Dalton Hayes. Hank Castlin is eighth. Then it's Tanner Nowell. Then it's Steve Anderson, Blake Powers, Robbie Helms, Brian Rose, Colton Cavett, Mark Schrader, Jacob Edwards, Brian Edmonds, Matt Amore, Jason Keffer, Josh Klinger, Mac Nelson, and Michael Dodson. The last four have not scored any points just yet. What we're doing tonight for the grid is the drivers that are here from this list here will be in reverse order, meaning that if you, for instance, look at Brian Edmonds, he is 17th in the standings, so he will be up there at the front of the grid. And J.D. Woodward, who is here also, he will be in the back of the pack for the start of tonight's race. We have about 30 seconds left in the practice session, folks. Let's take a quick look at the standings in practice as we are running. It's Hank Caston that has driven the quickest lap here, 22.398. Then it's J.D. Woodward in second. Sean Ritalik is in third. Robbie Helms, Michael Edwards, Blake Powers, Tanner Nowell, Brian Edmonds, Ken MacArthur, Kevin Woods, and Dalton Hayes. And compared to last week, we do not have all the same drivers here, unfortunately. Let's take a look at some more of your information. First, let's bring up your grid for the race here tonight. There we go. It's Dalton Hayes that's going to be starting in the front row together with Tanner Nowell. Then it's going to be Blake Powers, Kevin Woods on the second row, Brian Edmonds, J.D. Woodward on the third row. Then it's going to be Sean Ritalik and Michael Edwards on the fourth row, Ken MacArthur and Robbie Helms on the fifth row, and the final position is for Hank Caston. And they should be gridding up now. They're getting up in the pit lane here at Dover. I'm fairly sure we're going to be doing 2 warm-up laps. Have not seen Dalton Hayes and Hank Caston just yet. I don't see them gridding up here. There's Dalton. And the only guy we're still waiting for is Hank Caston. Sure hope he can make the race. And it looks like we have everybody else here. Robbie Helms on the pole position in the number 18 car. All right, some other noteworthy things for you. The drivers are running on 70% fuel capacity, which means that they'll be pitting a little bit more than they would in real life. They have one fast repair, so with damage, they can go into the pit and get an instant new car, except for fuel and tires. And they only have one of those fast repairs. I can tell you about the finish of the race. There might, if necessary, we're going to do 2 green-white checkers. The drivers are, they have a fixed setup. That means that every driver has the exact same car. The only thing they can play with is the brake bias. And if we have a chance, we'll explain a little bit more about that later. The pit speed limit is 35 miles an hour, which is very slow compared, if you think about that, we're running 170 miles an hour on the straights and about 145 to 150 in the turns. They'll have to come off. Oh, we're going racing already. One pace lap. And let's see here and check on Robbie here. Waiting for the call. There we go. We're racing. Robbie Helms in the number 18 car gets a good jump on Kevin Woods in the 26 there. It's Tanner Nowell in the 14 that slots in third. Then it's Blake Powers in the 32, Michael Edwards, and Brian Edmonds. And then there's a little bit of a gap already to Sean Retallick, and Ken MacArthur. Hank Caston already picked up 2 positions in the first lap. Then it's J.D. Woodward and Dalton Hayes, and it looks like they were kind of not all there at the start because they've dropped back quite a bit. Robbie Helms got a good lead now on Tanner Nowell, and Tanner Nowell's got Michael Edwards and Blake Powers right behind him. Brian Edmonds a little bit further back with Sean Retallick right behind him in the number 10 car. Let's take a look here at Robbie once again. He's way out, 2 seconds already in 3 laps. That looks very promising. But like I said, it's a very hot track, and we expect tires to be falling off fairly quickly during these stints. Tanner Nowell in the number 14 car hanging on to the 2nd position here, and it's Michael Edwards in the 21, Blake Powers in the 32, and that's your top 4 drivers. And as I said, Robbie Helms in the lead is way out there. He's already 2.4. And we have a caution. Let's see if we can find out what happened. It looks like the 28 car got together with another car here. Let's bring that back for you really quick. The 28 of, let me see, that is Brian Edmonds and the 10 of Sean Retallick coming together here. Let's bring that back for you one more time from a different angle. The 10 is right behind him, closing in on the exit of the turn. The 28 scrapes the wall, loses a little bit of speed, and then is unaware of the 10 coming down on him. And a little bit of a tap is enough to send him flying into the wall. That damage doesn't look too bad. He might want to save that fast repair for later in the race, because I don't think we're going to see, I don't think we've seen the last of these kind of actions. Looks like Brian Edmonds is staying out on the track. I have not seen anybody in the pits. Yes, they're coming in the pits now. Sean Retallick is coming in. Ken MacArthur and J.D. Woodward and Dalton Hayes. They are all in the pits. They're in the tail end of the field. So they're probably thinking, well, we're in the tail end of the field anyway. You might as well pick up a couple of new tires, top off that fuel tank, and you didn't really lose anything because you're going to bring it back around to the tail end of the field where you already were. Robbie Helms cannot do that, would give up a lot more track position if he would make a similar choice, so he's staying out. Tanner Nowell is out there, and Michael Edwards still 1, 2, and 3 in the race. Blake Powers is in 4th in the 32 car. Then it's Kevin Wood. Hank Caston has worked his way up to 6th position, partially because of the guys pitting. So Hank is opting for track position over fresh tires here. Brian Edmonds in the 28 car, we see him being bent up on the backside and on the right side just a little bit, but I think he'll be okay. It's not a high-speed track. It's not a track where drafting is extremely important, and the aero is probably not the biggest issue here. Guys are all back out, so running lap 6 behind the pace car here. So, as I was talking, they are running a fixed setup. The only thing they can work with is the brake bias. The brake bias divides the brake pressure between the front and the back. A higher brake bias means more brake pressure in the front. Lower brake bias means more brake pressure in the back. And some drivers help use that lower brake bias to have the car rotate into the turn a little bit better when they use the brake very slightly. They're not stomping on the brake like on road courses, but they can use the brake a little bit to help that car rotate in with the brake bias further to the rear. Not everybody does it, but some drivers do. And let's see, what else have we got? We are going to be running about 175 on the straights here. The banking in the turns on this track is no less than 24 degrees, which is fairly high, and especially on a short 1 mile oval, there's not very many tracks that have that kind of a banking here, and that makes it a fast track, but it also makes for a very tricky track. So we'll see further on in the race when the tires start falling off on a hot track like tonight. We'll see drivers get in trouble for sure. So let's take a look here quickly at Hank Caston. He won last week. And Dalton Hayes, he was in second place last week. And Sean Ritalik was in third last week. They're in the tail end of the field. They're obviously in the tail end because we are running a reversed championship standings grid. And that means that they have a little bit of work to do before they get to the front. It's 165 laps, so they got plenty of time, and they got to take their opportunities as they come and make sure they don't overdo it and run into trouble. So Robbie Elms, Tanner Nowell on the front row there as we're getting ready to go back to racing. It's Michael Edwards and Blake Powers on the second row. Then it's Kevin Woods and Hank Caston on the third. The pace car will be going in. The lights are out. And then it's up to Robbie Helms to start the race. And it looks like he's waiting a little bit and then kind of taking everybody by surprise. Michael Edwards comes along with him. The 14 of Tanner Nowell loses a position. He was on the outside and it looked like he was not paying attention. And then behind him it's Blake Powers. A little bit further back we have J.D. Woodward already working his way up there. Sean Ritalik is in 6th. It's Ken MacArthur in the 97 in 7th. Brian Edmonds running in 8th. Then it's Hank Caston, Dalton Hayes, and Kevin Woods rounding out the field here. 11 cars on the track. Robbie Helms, once again, looks like he's pulling away from Michael Edwards there. He's already a second and a half ahead. And then it's the 21 of Michael Edwards that has overtaken Tanner Nowell on the restart. Tanner Nowell now in 3rd. Blake Powers in 4th. Let's stick with these guys here. And as you can see, it looks like they're staying on that lower side where it's rubbered in from practice. Track state was carried over into the race, and it looks like all 3 of them are succeeding very well in keeping that car in the groove. You don't want to wash up, because if you do, you got to let go of the throttle and you lose a lot of time. It looks like Blake Powers has a little bit of trouble staying on that back bumper of Nowell now. Nowell looks like he might be up to something there. And he's not quite close enough right now. Going into lap 13 right now. Robbie Helms over 2 seconds ahead already. It looks like he is in really good shape tonight. Look at the distance there behind him. Almost a full straightaway until Michael Edwards comes by, and then Tanner Nowell and Blake Powers hanging with the 21. Let's take a look further back. The 9 of J.D. Woodworth is in 5th. Sean Retallick in 6th. Ken MacArthur is in 7th. Casting Brian Edmonds. That looks like Hank has passed the 28. And then it's Dalton Hayes and Kevin Woods. And it looks like Kevin Wood is having a little bit of trouble hanging with the same speed of those guys in front of him. Robbie Helms well out in front now. Almost 2 seconds. Michael Edwards. Oh, and we have another caution. Let's take a quick look and see if we can figure out what's going on. Ooh, that's in the second group there. That's the number 14 car of Tanner Nowell. And let's bring that back a little bit further for you. The 14 and the 32. It looks like the 14 gets a little bit off balance because he got 2 wheels on the apron. He washes up against the wall and he collects the 32. Very, very unfortunate. And let's see if we can bring that back from another angle here. There we go. Look at his left wheels touching the apron, gets a little bit off balance, washes up against the wall, and collects the 32 when he bounces back. Let's see how he survived. He's still out there. He's rolling. Back end is a little bent up. He's dropped back to 10th position. And it looks like Dalton Hayes is coming back in once again, and so is the leader. Robbie Helms in the pit, J.D. Woodward in the pit, Sean Retallick in the pit, Blake Powers, Ken MacArthur, Hank Caston once again into the pits. No, I'm sorry, that's his first time. Brian Edmonds and Kevin Woods and Dalton Hayes also looks like he's also coming in. And that's his second stop. Tanner Nowell. Ooh, Tanner Nowell spun around once again on his way in, it looks like. Let's see what's going on here. He's already damaged from the first incident. It looks like that car is a little bit more bent up than it looks like in first sight. Ooh, he just touches the wall, and then he hits the inside wall, and barely, the 47 just barely misses him. Tanner Nowell, a second crash here. And let's see if he can roll it back into the pits. He has that faster pair. He should be able to use that. And it looks, from the looks of it, he's really going to need it. So, the only one that did not go in is Michael Edwards. And he is therefore picking up the lead. He is right behind the pace car here in the number 21 car. Robbie Helms is already back out. He came back out in second position, so he didn't lose much. Sean Retallick now up in third because of Tanner Nowell dropping back. Then it's Ken MacArthur in the 97 car running in fourth. Brian Edmonds back up to fifth. J.D. Woodward in sixth. Hank Caston is in seventh. That's Dalton Hayes in eighth. Kevin Woods coming out of the pits as we look at him. That's the ninth position. Tanner Nowell took that fast repair. He's got a brand new car, nice and shiny. And Blake Powers is also coming out of the pits. And he looks a little bit beat up on the front end there because of that crash with Tanner that he had. But he looks like he's not taking that fast repair, saving it for later. And I don't blame him because with lap 18, we are already seeing the guys getting trouble, and we're going to have plenty more yellows. So it's probably a good idea, if the damage isn't too bad, to save that fast repair for when you really need it, like the 14 of Tanner Nowell did. That car definitely needed it. All right. Lights on the pace car still on, so we're not ready to go green just yet. We're in turn 3 and 4 here. 21 of Michael Edwards waving left and right to keep some heat in those tires. That concrete track is slippery. It's nothing like asphalt. It's just a different animal, and despite the high banking, it makes for a difficult 1 miler for sure. Edwards is the only one that didn't pit, so his tires are not as fresh as Robbie Helms, but his fuel load will be less, so he might be a little bit lighter. I doubt that's going to make a lot of difference in these Cup cars, but we'll have to wait and see if Robbie Helms can do the same thing once again. He was pulling away on both stints that we had so far. And on the second row, we see Sean Retallick and Ken MacArthur. On the third row, it's Brian Edmonds and J.D. Woodward. Then further back, it's Hank Kasten and Tanner Nowell in the 14 car. He's on the outside there. Blake Powers, Kevin Woods, Dalton Hayes are rounding out your field. The pace car will be going in, and it'll be up to Michael Edwards to get this show rolling once again. And he gives it a go, and he does look like he pulls a couple of car lengths on the 18 of Robbie Helms. It's Sean Retallick in third. It's Brian Edmonds, in the fourth position with Kevin MacArthur right behind him, and the 05 of Kasten. Ooh, he's coming in there really quickly. He picks up that fifth position from Ken MacArthur like he is like there is no tomorrow. So good move from Hank Kasten. He's already walking away from the 97 there. Brian Edmonds will be his next victim. I'm kind of surprised by how quickly these guys pull a gap on each other, to be honest with you. You would think they would stick around together a little bit more. Robbie Helms is not losing any ground on the 21. It looks like he can keep up with Michael Edwards just fine, and he's already taken a look on the inside. The 21 gets a little loose off the turn, but he saves it. And we're going into turn one. Once again, the 18 fairly close behind the leader here. Can he do anything on the backstretch? He definitely comes off turn two much better. Pulls to the inside. And it looks like the 21 is just taking the safe way up high and lets the 18 go. He's definitely quicker. The 21 already was a little bit loose the last lap on turn four, so he's probably just being a little bit careful. He's got his tires are much more worn than the other guys, so he's probably playing it safe there. It looks like Sean Retallick is closing in on Michael Edwards as well for that second position now, and it looks like Hank Kasten is about 2 seconds behind Retallick. So there's a little bit of a gap for you. Michael Edwards is staying with Robbie Helms better than he was the first few stints. Looks like Robbie Helms is pulling away a little bit now. 0.5 of a second. Michael Edwards hanging on to that second spot, and he is looking in his mirrors, seeing that number 10 come closer by. Only 0.2 of a second separating these guys now. Can Sean Retallick do anything? He's inching towards Michael Edwards here. That is the fight for second position. It looks like Hank Kasten is about 1.5 behind Retallick. And not sure if he's getting any closer. Not by much, if anything. And let's take a look further back. Ken MacArthur by himself. Blake Powers by himself. J.D. Woodward by himself. Further back, it's Tanner Nowell. Kevin Woods, ooh, and it looks like Dalton Hayes is getting in trouble here in the 47 car. We are not yellow yet, but we're going to take a quick look and see if we can figure out what happened. The 47, there you have the yellow. The 47 coming off of turn 2 here. It looks like the back end is stepping out on him. He's trying to save it, overcorrects it, which is so hard to do, to correct it, a car like that at that speed. So there's no judgment here whatsoever. It's just not easy, folks. And he is trying to make sure he's not turning around in front of everybody else. He patiently waits. That is good sportsmanship. He waits until the guys go by, and then he'll turn it around, and he'll have to choose now what's he going to do, take a pit stop, or see if he can keep going with that car. Let's see how bad it looks. It doesn't look bad at all. If I were him, I would just stay out there, unless he wants new tires, obviously, but doesn't look too bad. Up front, It is Robbie Helms going into the pits once again. Michael Edwards now taking his first pit stop. Sean Retallick coming into the pits for his third already. Hank Caston, Brian Edmonds, MacArthur, Powers, Woodward, Nowell, Kevin Woods, and it looks like Dalton Hayes is out there and he's going around the pace car. No, he has to wait. He has to wait until they get the 1 to green sign, and then he gets to go around the pace car. And it doesn't look like he's getting ready to come in. Let's see where we are here. I might be mistaken. And, well, he might come in the next lap. We're on the backstretch here. And it looks like Robbie Helm has beat everybody out off pit road. Michael Edwards in second, Retallick in third, so that's still the same. Then it's Hank Caston in fourth, Brian Edmonds in fifth, Ken MacArthur, J.D. Woodward, Blake Powers, Tanner Nowell. Kevin Woods is on his way out now. Let's take a look at Dalton and see if he's coming in. Yes, he does decide to come in, and I'm not sure if that's a smart move because he's going to lose his wave around, I would think. But maybe the damage is more than we can see from the outside. Don't be fooled by the left front wheel leaning very much. That's normal. That's what they call camber, and it helps the cars rotate to the left. And I don't really see tires being changed. So he just looks like he's getting fuel. And if that were the case, I'm not sure if losing that wave around was worth it. But it might be worse than we can see from the outside. All right, out here on the backstretch, guys are warming up their tires. They're expecting to get the 1 to go sign the next time they come off of turn 4. It's Robbie Helms in the 18 leading the pack, Michael Edwards in the second position, and I'm anxious to see what he can do on just as fresh of a set of tires as Helms, because it looked like he was giving him a little bit more to worry about than the first 2 stints that we did. Helms was walking away fairly easy in the first few stints, and in this past green flag stint, the 21 kept up a lot better. There's Dalton Hayes. He's coming back out. He's shown a lap down on the entire field now, so he might still get a wave around because he's the only one that's a lap down. So I'm gonna have to wait and see here. Yeah, it looks like the lights on the pace car are still on, and that might mean that Dalton is going to get waved around. Well, maybe not. Dalton Hayes is getting in line, so no wave around for him. He will have to pass a lot of people, and he will have to pass a lot of people twice if he wants to make it back to the front. But once again, it's a long race. There's still quite a ways to go. There might be more yellows, and he can pick up that lap whenever a yellow comes out, and he doesn't need to pit while others do. So it's not over for him yet. There's still plenty of opportunity to come, I'm sure. The lights on the pace car are out. Next lap, we're going to go racing, and that will be lap 33 of 165 here at the Monster Mile in Dover, Delaware. The 21 getting alongside the 18 there in the front. Then it's Sean Retallick in the 10 on the inside. It's Hank Caston in the 5 on the outside. Then it's Brian Edmonds in the 28 on the inside. On the outside, it's Ken MacArthur. Behind them, it's Woodward on the inside, and it's Powers on the outside. Nowell is on the inside. Kevin Woods is on the outside, and by himself, Dalton Hayes. They're very nicely lined up. Good discipline here. Getting ready to go. The pace car will be going down below the white line. There he goes. And there it's Robbie Helms hitting the gas, and this time Michael Edwards is right there with him. So is Retallick. The top three drivers storming towards turn one here. And the 5 of Hank Caston is also pretty close. Brian Edmonds had a good start here. And as I say that, he makes a little mistake and he spins it around, noses it into the wall. Let's see what's happening. He just barely touches that outside wall, a little bit too hard on the gas. Spins it around and collects Woodward in the process. Not sure if the 28 still had that faster pair. I do believe so, if I recall correctly. He didn't take that faster pair on his first issue. The 97 also going into the pits here. And let's see where Woodward is at. Ooh, that car's smoking. He's going to have to come in. That's not going to last. I'm sure he still has that faster pair. And looks like JD is still out there. He caught up with the pack, but that car is smoking, so I'm fairly sure we're going to see him come down here. And yes, indeed. And it looks like Kevin Woods is doing the same thing. Brian Edmonds is still in the pits. He's moving out now. No, I'm sorry, that was Ken MacArthur that you barely see behind those pit stalls here. There he comes out of the pits. Brian is still in the pits. And Woodward is coming in. He's going to need that faster pair pretty bad here, unfortunately. And let's see, Kevin Woods also in the pits. And Brian Edmonds still in the pits. JD Woodward going out. It does look like he took that faster pair. Not sure if Brian still has one, because he's taken quite some time here. I hope for his sake that he does. All right, let's bring her back up front here. It is Robbie Helms in front of Michael Edwards and Sean Retallick. They had a good start here last time around. Didn't last very long, but they did have a good start. And then it's Hank Caston, Blake Powers. Tanner Nowell is now back up to 6th. He looks like he still has that car looking pretty clean. It's Kevin Woods in 7th. J.D. Woodworth is in 8th. It's Ken MacArthur in 9th. Dalton Hayes is going back into the pits here. And it looks like Brian Edmonds is still in the pits, and that could mean that his damage is quite extensive, actually, and he already took that first faster pair. Not sure if he'll be coming back out. We'll have to just wait and see what happens. But if I were him, I would still try, because it's still a long ways to go. We're only on lap 36 of 165. Seen plenty of issues already, so I'm pretty sure that we're going to see some more, and everybody, regardless of where you are, is still in this. Coming down the backstretch now, under the 2 bridges here. Beautiful facility. And that's what 24 degrees banking looks like when you're behind the wheel. That's Robbie Helms you're running with, looking at the pace car. There's your pit entrance. You can see that, well, we just passed it, that the first part of the pit lane is still in the turn. To accommodate NASCAR, they have to have 43 pit stalls minimum. Lights on the pace car are still on. Brian Edmonds is still in the pits. And judging from the lack of activity there and the fact that we don't see any tires being mounted on that car, it tells me that Brian has decided to call it a night. Michael Edwards in second, warming up his tires. Let's check on JD. He's got a brand new car, it looks like. MacArthur. Dalton Hayes here in the 47 car. And I'm sure we're going to get the 1 to go sign here when we cross the line as we're coming off of turn 4. And drivers are already getting ready to line them up double file once again. There we go. Pace car lights are off. We're going to go racing next time by. And let's see if Michael Edwards and Sean Retallick can get along and come with Robbie Helms there as good as they did the last restart. Retallick and Caston on that second row there. Then it's Blake Powers in the purple car alongside Tanner. And then it's Kevin Woods, JD Woodward, and Ken MacArthur. And it looks like Dalton Hayes has gone to the pits once again. He's catching up with the field right now. Better hurry. And then Brian Edmonds is still in the pits, so I'm expecting him to be there for the rest of the race. Unfortunately for him, he had a pretty good start there. Pace car is in. And Robbie waits quite a bit and then hits the gas. The 21 comes with him pretty good. The 10 of Retallick comes along. Hank Caston comes along pretty good there. And it looks like the 21 is fairly close to the 18. Coming off of turn 2. It's Robbie Helms holding on to that lead with Michael Edwards right behind him. Michael washing up a little bit higher. It looks like he's got a little bit more oversteer in that car. Then it's Sean Retallick in third position, Hank Caston in fourth, Blake Powers in fifth. It's Woods and Nowell in sixth and seventh. Then it's MacArthur, Dalton Hayes, and JD Woodworth in the final spot here. Let's go check on Robbie Helms and Michael Edwards still fighting for that lead. It looks like Sean's dropping back a little bit and dealing with Hank Caston now. It looks like Hank Caston is closing in on the 10 car, trying for that third position. He looks to be in a good position here to make something happen. The 10 washes a little higher than the 5. Can he do anything on the main straightaway here? He's not quite close enough. Let's check on Edwards. Edwards is about 0.2 of a second behind Robbie Helms. Not close enough to make anything happen. So let's check here on Hank Caston. Right behind Retallick for third position. And behind him it's Blake Powers. He's dropping back just a little bit. And let's ride along here with Hank Caston for that in that fourth position, looking at Sean Retallick in the number 10 car in front of him. And he looks pretty smooth. He looks like he's got stuff under control and he's not fighting that car all too hard. You can tell by the movement of his hands. The more movements you see, the more he's fighting that car. You can hear the tires scrubbing on that concrete. He's a little careful on the gas there, as he should be. That's some good shots. There you have him, the number 5 of Hank Caston following the number 10 of Sean Retallick. Let's go check on the leaders here. It's Robbie Helms still in front, but he's washing up quite high now, and it gives Michael Edwards a chance to come underneath him. or at least close in. He's right on that bumper now. The 21 of Michael Edwards challenging Robbie Helms for the lead. Coming into lap 47. I apologize, lap 46. And it looks like Robbie went a little bit high there a lap and a half ago, but now he seems to be back in control. The 21 manages that car a little bit lower than the 18, it looks like. Now we're in lap 47. And now the 18 keeps it very nicely by that wide line. The 21 challenging him now on the inside. Can he do anything? No. And the 18 saw him coming and probably decided to take that turn a little bit wider. The 21 looks like he's getting ready to make that move. He's aggressively pursuing that 18 car. Let's check on Hank Casting. He dropped back from Sean Retallick a little bit. Let's check on Blake Powers by himself. Let's look at Kevin Woods and Tanner Nowell. They're fighting for the 6th and 7th position. Looks like Tanner Nowell is closing in on Kevin Woods. Back up front here, Robbie Helms and Michael Edwards. Edwards in the 21 car. Ooh, and once again, Robbie runs a little high there. And that allows Michael to close in on him. Can he do anything into turn 3? It's not for lack of trying, but no, he's not close enough. Robbie Helms, Michael Edwards. Heading into lap 50 now. Let's check on Sean Retallick. It looks like Hank Caston has caught back up with him a little bit. Not quite as close as Edwards is on the leader, but it does look like Casting is climbing back towards there. It looks like Brian, no, that was Dalton Hayes. Something must have happened. I'm not sure if that was Dalton or if, it's the 26 and the 14 getting together there at the exit of turn 2. Let's bring that back for you and see what happens. This is the main straightaway, the 14 closing in on the 26 into turn 1 and 2. And it looks like the 26 is washing up a little bit, gets on the apron, and when he comes back on the track, the 14 is already there, and the 14 can't avoid the 26. The back end smashed in pretty bad. Unfortunately for Kevin Woods, he's going to have to see if he can get that repaired still. Let's see how the 14 got off of there. He looks like he's in good shape. He doesn't have any damage to speak of, and he's staying out, picking up the lead. It's Ken MacArthur, in the 97 that picks up second. J.D. Woodward picks up the third spot, and all the other guys, except for Dalton Hayes, are going into the pits. So Robbie Helms is in the pits. Blake Powers, Mike Edwards, Sean Retallick is in the pits. There you see the car being jacked up and take tires. Kevin Woods is rolling in as well. Hank Caston already moving out, and Dalton Hayes is out there on the track. And that tells me that Dalton is picking up that lap that he may have lost, and he should be back on the lead lap. Let me think. No, he's not. Well, yeah, he could be. He could be at the tail end of the field here. The 21 coming out. That's Michael Edwards. Hank Caston in the 5 in front of him. And Sean Retallick here in the 10 car. Dalton Hayes has passed those guys, so he must be on the lead lap. Woodward now coming into the pits a lap later than the others. So is Tanner Nowell and Ken MacArthur. So they stayed out for an extra lap, but they've decided to come back in anyway. And for the 14 especially, that's not for repairs. That's just for fuel and tires. And Woodward's car still looking pretty good as well. There they are in the pit lane. The 47 in once again. Taking tires once more. And let's see up here. It's the 97 going out first of these three guys here. The 97 of Ken MacArthur going out. Tanner Nowell is still being serviced. I'm not sure if those guys are willing to go back out. They're standing still an awful long time. Robbie Helms still in the lead. So now it looks like we have the 32 of Blake Powers in the second position. Kevin Woods is going into the pits. Sean Retallick is in fourth. He'll pick up third here because Kevin went in. Then it's then it's Hank Gaston. Looks like he'll be picking up that fourth position. Then it's Ken MacArthur, Dalton Hayes. So he did pick up that lap that he was down. Michael Edwards is now shown in 8th position. And J.D. Woodward coming out of the pits to check up with the back of the pack, as is Tanner Nowell. That's good news. We like to see them come back out. And like I said, 10 drivers still running, and I'm sure they're all 10 of them still have a shot at this race. It's a long ways to go, and there's a lot of stuff that's still going to happen, as already has happened. Robbie Helms seems to be doing pretty good in the front here. He has had no major issues. He looks like he's got very good pace. And now it's going to be up to Blake Powers to see what he can do. I don't think he's been up this far in the field yet tonight, but it's up to him now to see what he can do. Sean Retallick still in third, MacArthur in fourth, and J.D. Woodward in fifth. And the lights on the pace car are going out as we ride along with Robbie Helms. They'll be lining up double file here. 32 of Blake Powers on the outside. Then on the inside behind them, it's Ken MacArthur and J.D. Woodward. Then it's going to be Tanner Nowell and Kevin Woods in that third row. Then it's Sean Retallick and Hank Gaston in the fourth row. Michael Edwards and Dalton Hayes are in the final row. Down the backstretch, getting ready to go. Tanner taking a look on the inside, making sure that everything is the way he wants it to be. Let's see if Robbie Helms can surprise Blake here. There he goes, Robbie Helms pulls away from the field. The Blake Powers catches up pretty quickly here, looks like, and then a little bit further back already, Ken MacArthur and Tanner Nowell jumps into fourth with J.D. Howard on the high side, losing almost the entire field, has to go by before he can catch that car coming back down low. That is unfortunate for J.D. Blake Powers hangs on to that second spot, and he's not quite as close as the 21 was at first after that last restart, but he's hanging with Robbie Helms pretty good. Then it's Ken MacArthur that is in third position. Tanner Nowell is in fourth. Sean Retallick, Hank Gaston, Michael Edwards following in the fifth, sixth, and seventh spot. The 21 of Edwards getting in there. And what's happening up here? It looked like the 10 was running a little bit high. The 14 trying to get underneath, but couldn't get it done. And Michael Edwards now passing the 14. The 14 had a little wiggle there going into that turn and has to take to the high side, let go of the throttle, and drop in behind Hank Gaston now in the seventh spot. Let's check on Blake Powers. Can he hang with Robbie Helms? It's still under a second, but it looks like Robbie Helms is pulling away from him. Then it's Sean Retallick now with Edwards right behind him, and both of them are going underneath Ken MacArthur. And it may have been that MacArthur had a little bit of a wiggle as well. Retallick and Edwards now for the third spot. It looks like Michael Edwards means business. He wants that third spot. He wants to get back up there, and he does it. He goes underneath the 10, and he picks up that third spot, pulls away a car length right away from the 10. Michael Edwards back in third. Then it's Hank Caston losing out a little bit on Retallick, MacArthur, and Tanner Nowell now together for 6th and 7th. Ooh, the 14 once again running high. Let's see if Michael can catch up with Blake Powers. It does look like he's inching towards that 32 car. The distance is dropping fairly rapidly, I would say. Robbie Helms is in the lead. He's got about a second and a half on Blake Powers. Then it's Michael Edwards, and he is gaining on Powers fairly quickly, it looks like. It's under 2 seconds now. Sean Retallick is hanging with Edwards with a little bit of distance. It's Caston, and it looks like Tanner Nowell has passed Ken MacArthur. It looks like MacArthur has ran a little bit high in turn 1 and 2, and that gave Tanner the opportunity to go by. J.D. Woodworth in 8th, Kevin Woods in 9th, and Dalton Hayes in 10th. Let's check on Michael Edwards here. 1.6 seconds behind Blake Powers. Is he gaining or is he losing? Currently, it's about the same. Robbie Helms is pulling away from Blake Powers. And Michael Edwards, it looks like he was gaining at first, and now it kind of evens out. 1.6 seconds between him and Blake Powers. And then it's Sean Retallick in the 4th spot, less than a second behind Edwards. Then it's Hank Caston, 1.5 behind Retallick. Tanner Nowell is in 6th, Ken MacArthur is in 7th, J.D. Woodworth is in 8th, Kevin Woods in 9th, and Dalton Hayes in the 10th position. It looks like Dalton is struggling a little bit. No such problems for Robbie Helms. He's well out in front. He's got good pace in that car, and it looks like he's very, very solid tonight. 1.8 seconds in front of this man, the 32 of Blake Powers. And now it definitely looks to me like Michael Edwards is gaining on Powers. It's down to 1.3 now. And Sean Retallick is coming with Edwards. The distance remains about the same, but he's got similar speed, so they're both gaining on Blake Powers, it looks like. And let's check on Caston here. About 2 seconds behind Retallick. Tanner Nowell doing pretty good here in 6th. Then it's Ken MacArthur, Woodward, Woods, Dalton Hayes. And Robbie Helms still in the lead. We got a good stretch of green flag racing here. Blake Powers, 2.2 behind. And now Edwards is definitely gaining on Powers now. He's got it down underneath a second, and it looks like he's gaining the most in the turns. Let's take a look from Edwards' car there. That's Blake Powers you're looking at in the purple car. It looks like Blake is running a little bit higher there. And in the turn, it looks like Michael is inching towards that purple number 32. On the main straight. Ooh, the 32 scratches the wall there, and definitely Michael Edwards is gaining on him as they come into 1 and 2. And it looks like on the backstretch, the speed is about the same, but in the turns, it looks like Edwards just goes in that turn a little bit deeper than the purple car in front of him. Let's go and check how that looks from the outside. And as I said, Sean Retallick is coming right along with Edwards. Edwards now going underneath the 32. The 32 washes up high, scratches the wall in turn 1 and 2. And both the 21 and the 10 are going past him for 2nd and 3rd position. Blake Powers drops down 2 positions. Hank Caston, that'll be the next one that's predating on him. And he's going towards him pretty fast. Let's check on the numbers 2 and 3 here. Michael Edwards in the 21 and Sean Retallick in the 10. They have some unsettled business, I'm sure. The 10 is staying with the 21 really well. Similar pace. They've been running similar pace since the green flag fell. We're on lap 72 now. Not much between these guys, and Hank Caston is approaching pretty quickly. He wants a part of this. He wants a part of this. So Edwards will have two fast guys behind him to deal with. Edwards has the speed himself. He's running really strong. The 10 trying to go underneath him now. Can he do it on the main straightaway? He's getting underneath the 21. And into turn 1, he takes that second position away from Michael Edwards. And Michael will now have Hank Caston trying similar stuff here. These guys have got it figured out. They're running very, very strong right now. Ooh, and it looks like the 5 comes off of that turn a little bit better. Tugs in behind to get a little bit of draft, whatever there is at these speeds. It's not that much, but every little bit seems to help. And then the 5 comes off of the turn 2 pretty good, trying to go underneath. No, not close enough just yet. Looks like Retallick is walking away from them a little bit. It's about a second now between Edwards and Retallick. There, the 5 goes underneath the 21 on the main straightaway, going in lap 75. He takes away that third position from Michael Edwards. So at the front, it's still Robbie Helms, 3 seconds clear of Sean Retallick in the number 10 car. Then it's Hank Caston, who just passed Michael Edwards. Michael Edwards, therefore, in 4th. Blake Powers is in 5th. Tanner Nowell in 6th. Kevin MacArthur is in the 7th spot. J.D. Woodward is 8th. 9th is Kevin Woods, and Dalton Hayes is hanging along there with the number 47 car right behind the 26 of Kevin Woods. It looks like Sean Retallick seems to be gaining a little bit on Robbie Helms now. It's less than 2.5 seconds, and it was 3 when we last checked. So that's going well. Hank Caston is dropping a little bit further back from Retallick. It looks like Retallick at this moment is the quickest car on the track. Helms may have had a little issue. Not every lap and not every turn is perfect, obviously. So he looks like he's gaining back a little bit of what he lost. It's 1.7 now. And last lap, Retallick was 0.3 of a second quicker than Helms, so he's gaining, but not by much. And then Hank Caston was even quicker than that. He was under 24 seconds. And let's check on Michael Edwards. He dropped back a little bit. He's now 3 seconds behind Hank Caston. Tanner Nowell is about 3 seconds behind Edwards. And MacArthur and J.D. Woodward are battling here for the 6th position behind Tanner Nowell. Blake Powers all by himself, Dalton Hayes and Kevin Woods. It looks like Dalton Hayes has passed Kevin Woods here for the 9th spot. Like I said, it's not over till the fat lady sings. We have a long way to go. Robbie Helms is still in the lead, and definitely Sean Retallick is gaining on him. It's less than 0.5 of a second. On his last lap, Retallick was a 0.7 of a second quicker than Robbie Helms. So it looks like Sean Retallick is meaning business here. And let's take a look on the nose of Retallick's car. Looks like Helms is having a loose car right now, and Retallick is approaching really quickly. We've had quite a good green stint here, so tire wear is probably becoming an issue on this concrete track. The 10 is having a look. The 18 wiggling a little bit unsure of what to do. He has no choice to get off the gas and go high, and Sean Retallick picks up the lead here in Dover. Robbie Helms, it looked like he was expecting the 10 to come underneath him, and then he had a bit of a hesitation, and he had to go high and off the gas to stay out of the wall. Hank Caston is closing in on him as well now. The top 3 are very close together here. It's Robbie Helms in 2nd. And there you see on the right bottom of your screen, he is less than a second behind Retallick, and he is only 1/10 of a second in front of Caston. Look at Caston. He's going to go for that 2nd position now. It's Caston picking up 2nd from Robbie Helms now. Robbie is obviously struggling with tires here. So Sean Retallick picks up the lead. Hank Caston second, Robbie Helms third. JD Woodward is now in the fourth position. He went by Michael Edwards. Ken MacArthur is in sixth. Tanner Howell is in seventh. And it's Dalton Hayes in eighth. Kevin Woods is in ninth. And let's see, Blake Powers is still running, but he's shown a lap behind. Your leader, Sean Retallick, in the number 10 car. Let's take a look at how he's doing here. Looking pretty solid. Not much wiggling going on. Comes off the turn good. And it's Hank Caston right behind him. Just over half a second between these guys at this moment. And it looks like Helms is dropping back. Looks to me like he's struggling with his tires. Lap 87. We're closing in on the halfway point. Good green stint we have going on here. We had our share of yellows earlier in the race, but it looks like they got it figured out now and they're in control of what they're doing. The distance between Retallick and Caston seems to stay somewhat the same. It looks like Caston closes in on the entry of the turn a little bit, and then Retallick seems to be counter-punching on the exit of the turns. There you see the distance. And we're just over halfway of we're in lap 89 of 165. Sean Retallick in the lead, Hank Caston in seconds. Robbie Helms is dropping back a little bit further now, almost 2 seconds. I'm sure he's hoping for a yellow so he can get that rubber changed. JD Howard still in fourth, about 6 seconds behind Robbie Helms. Then it's Ken MacArthur, Michael Edwards, and that looks like Ken MacArthur has passed Edwards as well. It looks like Edwards is also struggling for tires. And that's part of the problem here. You can go as fast as you can on the first few laps and be quicker than anybody else, but you're going to pay for it later in the stint on these concrete tracks. It's very, very difficult. And it looks like MacArthur. Oops, that was not MacArthur. That is Dalton Hayes. I'm sorry. That was Blake Powers, and he's just gaining a lap on Michael Edwards. That was not for position. Threw me off a little bit. Back up at the front, it's Hank Caston now definitely gaining on Sean Retallick. That's the fight for the lead. 0.3 of a second between them, and you can see Helms is about 3.2 behind. And let's ride along with the second place car here, the number 5 of Hank Caston. He still looks fairly smooth, and it doesn't look like he's fighting that car. That's the 26 coming out of the pits. That's Kevin Woods. Pretty evenly matched with the 10 here. And the 10 washes up a little bit more than he wants to, it looks like. And it allows Hank to come in closer. And it looks to me like Hank is just being patient. He's easy on the throttle. And he seems to be well in control of that race car. Leader is Sean Retallick, and we can take a look off at the back of his car. That's the threat that's behind him, and this gives you a good idea of how steep those turns are. 24 degrees banking. Ooh, it looked like Sean was a little hesitant to get on the gas here, and Hank Caston is catching up with him instantly. Is Sean having issues with his tires? It looks good here. Into turn 3. definitely looks like that bottom line is getting rubbered in pretty good. It's helping him. The 10 washes up a little bit. I would say they're pretty evenly matched for now, and it doesn't look like Hank Caston is giving him too hard of a time right now. He's just being patient. They both know that their tires aren't fresh anymore. Sometimes it just pays off to stay behind somebody and just make sure that he's aware of where you are and how strong you are and wait for him to make a mistake. But right now, Sean Retallick is not making any mistakes. They're coming up on some back markers now. The 10 running a little bit high here. Can the 5 bring it underneath? No, he's not close enough just yet. And the car in front is Dalton Hayes. He's going to be put down a lap. And Caston is being followed there by, that is not for position, that's the 26 of Kevin Woods, and he's been in the pits, so he's on fresh rubber, and it looks like Kevin Woods is faster than the leaders there on that fresher rubber, and he wants to get his lap back. He wants to get by there. Doesn't really look like that car is totally free of damage, although maybe it's a little deceiving. There he goes to the inside. He takes a lap back from the number 5 car, and once he gets past Sean Retallick, he'll be at the tail end of the field once again. There you go. He's in front of the leader now. He's got one of his laps back. He's still not on the lead lap, I'm sure. I think like Blake Powers, he's also a lap down. So let's take a look here. There we have Tanner Nowell going into the pits under green. Are we going to see everybody make some green flag pit stops here? That's going to... Ooh, and that's a brake bias too far to the rear, and he locks up the rear end, turns it around, going into the pit lane. Luckily, he's by himself there, and nobody gets hurt by that, but it's going to cost him a lot of time. Let's check on the leader here, Sean Retallick. He's closing in now on the 47 of Dalton Hayes. Looks like the 26 of Kevin Wood is already past the 47 of Dalton Hayes. So Sean Retallick is now behind Dalton Hayes, and that's the final car on the lead lap. And he is in 6th position, the 47. Robbie Helms has picked up 2nd position because Hank Caston has brought it into the pits. Let's bring that back for you real quick. Make sure nothing serious happened here to him. No. He's just deciding to go into the pits for a green flag stop. Let's see how he does on entry. He does it a lot better. No problems for Hank Caston there on entry. And as we were looking at the replay, he's already been serviced and coming out. He dropped down to 6th position, so that means he loses pretty much a lap on the leaders. Robbie Helms is picking up the lead because Sean Retallick is also coming into the pits for his service. And I'm sure all of them are going to have to come in. Whoever can stay out the longest and wait for a yellow to come out is going to get lucky. So Robbie Helms picks that lead back up here. He's not coming in just yet. The 97 of MacArthur is coming in. And where's Retallick? He's still getting tires. There we go. Car drops down and he's ready to go back out. Robbie Helms on the backstretch. In the lead still. It looked earlier like he was fighting those tires a little bit, but it looks like the cars behind him are quicker, but that's not for position. The 14 of Tanner Nowell is way quicker on those fresh tires. Look at that. Oh, and the 18 washes wide. He washes wide and into the wall and then scrapes the inside wall. Let's see if we can bring that back real quick. Here he comes off the main straightaway. The 14's going to get past him. Way better tires than the 18. And it looks like the 18 just washes up and scuffs the wall and then scuffs the inside wall. And I'm sure he's getting ready to take that thing to pit road. There you go.
The yellow flag is out.
And now we have yellow, and that is good news for the people that did not pit under green, because they won't lose as much time as the other people. And it looks like Robbie Helms got that left front of that car damaged a little bit, so maybe he can pick up a quick repair if he still has one. Too far away to tell in this shot. Let's see if we can see it from here. I don't believe he's got that damage repaired. Yes, he does. Yes, he does. He's got that damage repaired. Let's check again. Yes, he's got that damage repaired. J.D. Woodward picks up the lead in the number 9 car, but I'm sure he's going to be on pit road. Yep, there he comes. J.D. Woodward brings it in for fuel and tires. And what does that mean for our race lead? Sean Retallick, is he picking back up that lead? Tanner Nowell is in front of him, and he is at least 1 lap down, but maybe more. He was going really well on those faster tires. It looks like Woodward is... No, I'm sorry. Sean Retallick is getting a wave around. So I'm not really sure what the deal is here, because Woodward is still shown as the leader as he comes off pit road, and that's because he pitted under yellow and everybody else did it under green. That means that Woodward had a lap on everybody when he took that lead, and that's why the number 9 gets a wave around, because he was the first of the lapped cars. That makes sense. So that means that J.D. Woodward is your new leader. Sean Retallick, now back on the same lap, is in second. Robbie Helms in third. He's been serviced and has his damage repaired. Then it's Hank Caston in fourth. Michael Edwards in fifth. Blake Edwards is losing it on the pace laps here. What is that? What happens? Oh, he just wants to warm those tires up and spins it around. Kevin Woods in the 26 car. He is a lap down. He's behind the pace car, so he'll be waved around before we go green. The same thing will be true for... that will not be true for him. That'll only be true for Kevin and also for Tanner Nowell. Looks like Tanner has damage on that front end once again. He must have picked that up pretty recently, because he was going underneath the 18 before we went yellow pretty quickly. He was still in good shape then. There's your leader, the number 9 of J.D. Woodward. And let's get off delay here. There we go. The 47 of Dalton Hayes is in front of him. The 32 is in front of him, the 21, and the 97. And they're all a lap down, or almost a lap down, and they'll be getting the wave around. Or will they? Well, they should. That means that those green flag pit stop, have shuffled the field quite a bit here. And it looks like Woodward and Retallick, they are on the lead lap. They're 1 and 2. And then it's Robbie Helms. And where is Robbie Helms compared to them? He's in front of him. So Robbie Helms is almost a lap down. He'll be getting that back if they get waved around by the pace truck. And that's true for Caston as well. So now we need to figure out where the pace truck is and if those lights are off. They're still on, so they should be getting that wave around when they go off, and that would probably happen this coming lap here. Not sure how many people this track holds, but it's a lot. It's got big grandstands. Beautiful facility. Like it very much. It's just a tough one for the drivers. That surface is not easy. Alright, lights on the pace car are out. And that means that the 26 will go around, the 14 will go around. Everybody that's in front of JD will go around. And that would mean the 05 of casting as well. Is he going? And there you have it. Everybody's going around, and it was actually only Woodward and Sean Retallick. They were at the tail of the field. So everybody's going to go around. Don't see that very often. Your leader is the number 9 car of JD Woodward. The number 2 car, the number 2 position is for Sean Retallick in the number 10 car. And it looks like the number 9 is... It looks like they're going single file. Yes, they are. There we go. The 9 hits the gas. The 10 stays with him. Very good. A little bit of a gap already to Helms. He was behind the 14 of Tanner Nowell. Tanner on the high side. It's Hank Caston going low as well. He needs to get by that 14 quickly. Let's go back up front. Oop, that we saw there the 5 going underneath the 14. That's not for position. And it's Sean Retallick has already passed Woodward. Let's see if we can bring that back for you, because we want to know how that happened. There you go, going into turn 1. The 10 goes underneath the 9 and fairly easily picks up that lead here. There you have it. Sean Retallick pulling away from JD Woodward by almost a second already. And then it's Robbie Helms in the 3rd position. Hank Caston, clear of the 14, is in 5th. In 4th. Then it's Edwards, and he's got the 14 in front of him now, and also the 97. Passes the Tanner there. Looks like Tanner is losing a lot of speed here. That nose is damaged. He's just trying to finish the race. Dalton Hayes in the 47 in 9th position. Ken MacArthur in the 97. He's going to be lapped by Michael Edwards here fairly quickly. Let's check on your leader, Sean Retallick. He's pulling away by about a second and a half from JD Woodward. Woodward is now coming under pressure from the 18 of Robbie Helms. Let's stay here for a moment. Battle for the 2nd position. The 18 of Robbie Helms putting pressure on the 9 of JD Woodward here. Can he do anything in turn 3? He's going underneath. It looks like the 9 is washing up a little bit. There's not much he can do now. The 18 takes the 2nd position away from him. Robbie Helms, 2nd place. JD Woodward in 3rd. Hank Caston is in 4th. And is he gaining on Woodward? No, not really. Michael Edwards has got a back marker, the 97 of Ken MacArthur, between him and Caston. JD Woodward is about 1.8 seconds in front of Hank Caston, and it looks like Caston is inching towards Woodward. Retallick well out in front, almost 3 seconds clear of Robbie Helms right now. Woodward in 3rd. Caston seems to be closing in. looks like we have two Toyotas here in front of two Chevys, and then a Ford and another two Toyotas. So looks like the Camrys are running pretty strong here. Retallick in the lead by about 3 seconds, a little bit more than that even. Robbie Helms in second position. And it's Woodward that is getting Hank Kasten. He sees Hank Kasten coming closer and closer. Hank is running very strong here. It's less than 3/10 of a second now. Again, the 9 seems to wash up on entry a little bit. And he's definitely gaining on him now. Putting that front end right by the rear bumper in turn 1 and 2 here on the backstretch. Catching a bit of that draft. It's not all that much, but it helps nonetheless. Coming off of turn 4. Can he get closer now? He's going to the inside. Can he get closer? Can he get underneath? Into turn 1. He puts it underneath there. The 9 washes up. Has no choice but to get off the gas, not to run into the wall. It's Hank Kasten picking up third position now. Right behind him, right behind Robbie Helms. He is about 3.3 seconds ahead of Kasten. And Retallick is about 3.3 ahead of Robbie Helms. So your leader is over 3 seconds clear. Sean Retallick. And let's check on some of the other guys here. J.D. Woodworth is in 4th. He seems to be hanging with Kasten fairly well. They're coming up on traffic now. That is the 32 of Blake Powers. He goes high, lets the guys by. That's good racing. Yeah, we'll say that Woodward is hanging with the number 5 car. Not losing all that much.
The yellow flag is out.
We have another yellow. Let's go find out what we saw happening here. That was not it. Was it Michael Edwards? I'm not really sure. I can't find it. No, it was him on that quarter panel. I mean, that is just not necessary.
Caution, yellow flag.
Let's take a look at that again. The 97 is running a defensive line, comes off the turn, stays low. The 32 wants to get underneath him, taps him in the rear end, and spins him around. Speaking in football terms, I guess you could call that an offensive foul. Sean Retallick is still in the lead. It's Sean Retallick in the lead, right behind the pace car. And he is coming in, and the 5 and the 9 follow him, and the 18 follows him. Dalton Hayes is following them in. Powers is staying out. He pitted last on lap 130, so he's got 17 laps on his tires. Tanner now still running, albeit with a lot of damage, but he is still there. So let's see who comes off of pit road quickest. Robbie Helms has the first pit, and obviously those guys have the pits further back. It's the 10 and the 9 side by side. Looks like the 9 beats the 10 out of pit road. Actually, it's Hank Kasten up there that beat them all out. So he is now in the lead Casting in the lead coming off of pit road. He picks that position. Maybe he only took 2 tires. I couldn't tell. But that may explain that he's coming out so quick. And then it's Woodward in second. It's Retallick in third. And it's Helms in fourth. Blake Powers stayed out the last lap, so he's coming in now. That means Dalton Hayes picks up 5th position. Powers, MacArthur, and Woods are all in the pits, and that is those guys are fighting for 6th, 7th, and 8th position. There you have the 26 and the 97, and Tanner Nowell is coming through the pits once again. He's keeping that car going for sure. Hank Caston is your new leader. Lap 149. We're closing in on that final lap here, because it'll be 151 before we go green, and that means we have 15 laps to go. Woodward going down to that wall there. Retallick in the number 10. It's Helms, Dalton Hayes, and Dalton Hayes is back on the lead lap. Is he going into pit now? Oops, we lost him there for just an instant. That's a bad connection. Blake Powers is in the 6th position. And Blake is also still on the lead lap. Woods is 7th in the 26, and he is I don't think he's on the lead lap, and neither is MacArthur, and neither is Nowell. Tanner Nowell is part of the Tarmac Terror team, and both his teammates unfortunately aren't here. That's Colton Cavett and Brian Rose. Unfortunately for them, they're not here. That 9's getting dirty in the front there. Sean Retallick in the number 10. And a 26 of Kevin Woods, currently in 7th. And that means that Powers and Woods came out of the pits ahead of MacArthur. Or is Blake Powers a lap down on him now? Not sure. Looks like the lights on the pace car have gone out, and that means that we're going to line them up again, and we're getting ready to go. We're going to be in lap 152 when we get going, so 24 laps to go. I'm sorry, 14 laps to go. Caston and Woodward, and then behind him it's Retallick and Helms. And then it's Hayes and Blake Powers. Blake is not on that 3rd row. He's a little bit further back. There's some back markers in between there. Caston and Woodward are in the front row. Now it's up to Hank Caston. Really close together here. This is going to be the sprint to the finish. The 5 takes the lead in front of the 9. The 10 is going to push the 9 right there, push him on the high line. Can he take over that 2nd position? These guys are all very fast. Ooh, ho, ho, ho. The 47 loses it. 47 loses it coming off that 2nd turn there. Loose on the exit. can't save it and then gets a tap in the back from, I think that was Robbie Helms. We can check that. Yep, that was Robbie Helms. Robbie had nowhere to go. So, yellow once again. J.D. Whitworth still in the lead. Or I should say is in the lead. He took that spot from Caston. Let's see if we can bring that back real quick. Because we were looking at that crash. And while we were looking at that crash, this is what happened. It's the 5 on the inside with the 10 behind him and the 9 on the outside. There you see the crash in the background. And the 9 was nosing ahead there. And the moment they went yellow, he must have been ahead. So Woodward picks up the lead in front of Casting and Retallick. Robbie Helms is hanging on to 4th. It's Blake Powers in 5th. And it looks like Kevin gets the wave around. And let's check on the 47 of Dalton Hayes. He looks like he's got quite a bit of damage in the back end there. He's getting tires. And is he getting the other side done as well? Yep, other side. And then we'll see if he's going to take some repairs. Well, he shut down the engine. That's not a good sign. That means there's quite a bit of time calculated for those repairs. I'm not sure if that would be worth your time because we're getting so close to the end here. Let's take a look here at Ken MacArthur. He's coming into the pits, as is the 32 of Blake Powers and the 18 of Robbie Helms. And that's a good move by Robbie because it'll put him on fresh tires. And if he plays his cards right, he should be coming back out in the 4th position because everybody behind him came with him. Dalton Hayes is back out, and that car still doesn't look all that new, but we don't have that far to go. Woodward still in the 1st position. So Robbie Helms, when he gets out, he will have back markers between him and the leaders. That would be his only problem, but he will be on fresh tires. That might be what he needs, and that might be what might give him an edge over the others. Let's see, is he going out? I don't see him moving yet. That's kind of weird. I don't think he was damaged that much. He's still in the pits. MacArthur still in the pits, and Tanner is still in the pits. What's going on with Robbie Helms? There he goes. He did get that damage that he had repaired, so that means he's going to drop back a little bit further than he probably would have wanted to. He's shown in 7th position now, but he will be on fresh tires. And so will Blake Powers, Dalton Hayes, and Kevin Woods. And these guys are now running 4th, 5th, and 6th. They're on the lead lap, so J.D. Howard and Hank Caston and Sean Retallick might see some pressure coming from the rear end there. We have 10 laps to go at this point. We're not green yet. We're getting close to, I think. Nope, lights are still on. So these 3 leaders may see some pressure from the guys like Powers, Hayes, and Woods, and even Robbie Helms. They're all on the lead lap, and we're close enough to the finish that the back markers are being dropped to the end of the line. So we may see something interesting develop here. Blake Powers in the 32, Dalton Hayes and Robbie Helms all on fresh tires, as opposed to the guys in front, the 3 guys in front that are not. The lights on the pace car are out. We're going to go into lap 158 when we get to green. That means we have 8 laps to go. Now, on the backstretch, let's see if these guys can bring it to the grid, to the checkered flag here. 8 laps to go. Let's make this an interesting fight. Because I'm very curious to find out if Powers, Hayes, and Helms on those fresher tires can give these guys a run for their money. .47 seems eager to go. The 32 right behind the 5 here. J.D. Woodward is your leader. The 10 is right behind him. There we go. The 9 is on the throttle. Couple of car lengths between them right away. Sean Retallick takes that second position away from Hank Caston. The 47 of the 32, that's Powers and Hayes right behind them there. That's what I'm talking about. Of course, the 47 still has some damage, but I don't think it's going to hurt him all that much. And what about Robbie Helms? Can he catch up with him now? He's a bit behind here. Woodward is still in the lead. It's Retallick challenging him now. The 5 dropped back a couple of car lengths. Then it's behind Caston, it's Blake Powers in the 32 and Dalton Hayes in the 47. And it doesn't look like they can stay with Hank Caston there. A couple of car lengths between them now. The 10 is right on the bumper of Woodward, and the 5 is closing in. That's your battle for the lead. Lap 160. We have 6 more laps to go. The number 10 is closing in on the number 9. On the outside now. Can he do it on the high side? Whoa, that would be good. The number 10 inches ahead of the number 9 here. Oh, he scrapes the wall, loses a little bit of speed, and that's going to bring the 5 underneath him. The 5 challenges him for the second position. Hank Caston and Sean Retallick. Hank Caston has got it. He takes the second position away from Retallick. Woodward is still in the lead. The 32 and the 47 are catching back up, it looks like. Can the 32 do anything? Lap 162 now. J.D. Woodward is still in the lead. Caston is in second. Retallick is in third. Blake Powers is in fourth. It looks like Woodward has got this under control for now, but can he keep it up? We're going into lap 163. 3 more laps to go. Hank Caston seems to be inching closer, but not by much. It looks like Retallick is coming back to the 5 a little bit now. Can he make anything happen here? Looks like Woodward is in control. 2 laps to go. And it looks like the 47 has passed Blake Powers. Must have had an issue. Back up to the front here. Oh, and it's Retallick coming off of that turn really loose, dropping back a little bit and almost losing it. It's Woodward in front. Hank Caston is closing in on him. 1 more lap to go. The white flag is out. Can he do it? J.D. Woodward, Hank Caston for the lead on the backstretch. I don't think he's close enough. Unless J.D. Woodward makes a mistake here in 3 and 4, I don't think he can do it. Not close enough. It's J.D. Woodward picking up the win here. In front of Hank Caston in the 05. Then it's Sean Retallick, coming loose off of that final turn. Bringing it home in third, though. And then it's Dalton Hayes, Blake Powers, Robbie Helms is 6th. Then it's Kevin Woods and Ken MacArthur and Tanner Nowell are the final running cars. Michael Edwards and Brian Hammonds were out of the race with too much damage. They could not finish this race here. J.D. Woodward, I'm sure we're going to be seeing some donuts here tonight. There you go. Burn some rubber. Yeah, I'm sure he's happy with that win. That was a hard-fought win on the Monster Mile here. It's, like I said, it's not an easy track. We've seen plenty of examples of why it's such a hard track. And J.D. Woodward brought it home in the first position here. Awesome job. And he backs it up to give us some more. Smoke that thing. There you go. He does a good job at that, too. I like it. J.D. Woodworth, your winner tonight, folks. Let's bring up the final results for this race. Woodward brings it home the winner. 2/10 of a second behind him. It's Hank Caston in the second spot. Third is Sean Retallick, only 6/10 behind the leader. Then it's Dalton Hayes in fourth position. And Dalton has come from quite a ways back. He's been hanging in there the second half of the race, and I salute him. He brings it home in a beautiful fourth spot. He deserves it. Blake Powers in the 32 brings it home in fifth. Same thing. He's had some issues, and he's just hung in there all race long, and he brings it home in fifth spot. Robbie Helms started really strong. Had some good powerful runs in the beginning earlier in the race, then had a little incident here and there, brings it home in sixth position. Kevin Woods is seventh, and then it's Ken MacArthur. He's one lap down in the 97, and Tanner Nowell is 3 laps down. He had a good start of the race also. He ran into some trouble and brought that damaged car home in ninth spot, 3 laps down from the leader. We lost Michael Edwards along the way, and we lost Brian Edmonds along the way. That is your final results, ladies and gentlemen, in Dover, Delaware. 165 laps, the 5th round in the Coast to Coast iRacing League. We will be back next week, and we're going to go to the Kentucky Motor Speedway next week. Same time, different place, obviously, and hopefully we'll get all the teammates back together here again, and hopefully we'll get a similar exciting race as we did tonight. The Coast to Coast series, it's not a huge field, but it still brings exciting racing. So we hope you will join us again next week at the Kentucky Motor Speedway for the 6th round in the series Coast to Coast iRacing League. Thank you very much for watching. My name is Mark. This is Short Shift Broadcasting. We hope to see you next time.